There was definitely a lot of times where we were struggling for money. I remember being stressed with my mom, seeing my mom stressed. I was lucky to be able to have a new pair of Nikes when I was a kid.
My mom always made sure that I had new shoes and that we had HBO for some reason. I've never really figured that out, but thank God.
Just like what you're saying, and this comes from being born and raised in Youngstown when it was by far the most dangerous. I'm from the most dangerous intersection in what was the most dangerous city at the time. But there's bullet holes in my house that happened when I was growing up. Could have been there. But anyway, you learn a lot from all that.
Tony claims to have grown up on the most dangerous intersection in Youngstown, Ohio, when it was the most dangerous city in the country. To fact check that first claim, Tony actually provides us with a good bit of background information. The absolute ghetto of the north side is where I was raised, right behind Elm Street, which is dreaded there. It was the street right behind Elm Street, and if you know anything about dangerous streets, the street behind the most dangerous street is the most dangerous street. And Tony provides us with the address 1515 Florencedale Avenue, which is on the north side of Youngstown. However, the most dangerous area in the city, when crime was at its peak in the 1990s, was the south side. And the most dangerous individual street was Griffith Street, which was over a mile away from where Tony claimed to have grown up. And as far as the second claim, I haven't been able to find any evidence that Youngstown was ever the most dangerous city in America, even when you just compare it with Compton, which Tony claims is nothing compared to where he grew up. When I got to LA, I heard all of these rap songs, this and that about Compton. I went there and I couldn't believe it. They have nice green grass in the front yards, no police sirens, no real crime like what I was used to. That's when I realized I was raised somewhere really crazy. But if you look at the crime statistics from the 1990s, despite having a smaller population than Youngstown, Ohio, Compton saw 18 more homicides a year. So it definitely seems like Tony's just exaggerating how dangerous his day-to-day life was growing up, trying to make his backstory sound more interesting. As you saw in the intro, Tony's description of his own poverty level has shifted over time, so I find it hard to believe he really grew up in the ghetto at all. Straight out of Youngstown, Tony Hinchcliffe may have attended a private Catholic high school on Youngstown's north side, but as he describes it, life wasn't easy. Ursuline High School in Youngstown has a yearly tuition of almost $30,000 a year. None of these details really seem to add up, and it starts becoming even more unbelievable when he brings up how both of his parents were in the Italian mafia.
My parents were mob.
Really? True mob?
My mom was more mob than even my dad.
The most unbelievable part of this story is that Tony still claims to this day that his father is involved with the mafia and is running an illegal money laundering scheme through his restaurant.
Also on that episode, I talked about how my dad told me that he was out completely. I talked with him that night at his restaurant. This is years ago. And he goes, I don't even do any of that stuff anymore. That was back in the day and it was nothing. There's nothing going on. And on cue, this is a true fucking story. And a guy walks in with a newspaper and literally goes, really good news today, really good news today. And you can see
the money,
cash hanging out of the end of this rolled up newspaper. You just stacks of cash through it, bundled up and hanging out of the end. The news was good today. It's like, oh yeah, you're totally out. Totally a legal operation.
Do you actually believe that if Tony's father was collecting illegal money rolled up in newspapers for the Italian mafia to this day, that he would be going on podcasts announcing it to the world? He tells these grandiose stories about his mobster father making his teachers disappear whenever they slighted him.
And he's trying to get everybody's attention, but I'm on a run about it was a joke about, I can't remember exactly, but it's about getting molested. And I'm like, bobbity-ba, and he's like, all right, class is starting. But I had one more joke that I just thought of. I even got molested because I was talking about getting molested by whoever. And then I'm like, I even got molested by my dad. And this teacher hated me, but it was like everybody's cracking up. Like it was blatantly like I was just killing. I was doing stand-up, and that was my thing, is I would just try to make people laugh as hard as I could right before class got started. So I had like a minute and a half. But he goes, you know what? You're going to be in trouble for that one. And he said that, he went through a thing where he had to call children's services, even though he knew, it was blatantly a joke. He goes, I'm going to have to call children's services on your father because by rule, any even jokes about being molested I have to call. Well, It was a big mistake. He made a really big mistake. And immediately, like, I remember my mom finding out and just being like, oh no, this isn't going to be good. But he didn't know the caliber. He didn't realize, because I have a different last name as my dad. My mom and dad were hooking up, so I was a secret, and I took my mom's last name, Hinchcliffe. But obviously, you know, my dad had something to do with the first name. You know, Tony. Tony Hinchcliffe's an English last name, and Tony's, you know what Tony is. He thought he was going to call some doofball accountant, you know, whoop-a-dooba-doo-boo. Oh, no, I wouldn't molest me. But no, instead what he got was, what's the name of the teacher? What's his name? Mr. Gilmartin wasn't there the next day.
No.
He never came back. I saw him stacking cantaloupes at a grocery store a month later, wearing an apron in the produce section, stacking cantaloupes. We made eye contact. I gave him like one of those evil smiles, like, you fucked up.
I like how he starts putting on this fake Italian accent as he tells this story. In reality, Tony most likely grew up in a suburb of Youngstown, tucked away safely in his $30,000 a year Catholic high school, and is just pretending to be poor to make his life seem more interesting.
So there's houses being arsoned, people being shot.
Yeah,
There
you
was-
were right.
I
You were
thought
Eminem,
every
right?
city in America,
8 Mile.
there was always a police siren that you could hear from wherever you were. That's just what was normal to me. And so it was very dangerous, and it was all very real. And
That's the classic, like, yeah. If you're some insecure guy, you always wanted to be the big tough guy, you've always been a complete nerd, you've always been a guy that everyone thought was gay. Yeah, now you got this whole new life. Why not rewrite like Josh Denny? Oh yeah, it was just all black people. I was basically an urban decay. Drive-bys, like I got, people would do drive-bys at me all the time. They forget. No, you didn't.
so it was very dangerous, and it was all very real. And I mean, bullying isn't
This
even
is not usually the voice that you get from coming out of the hood. Hey, brothers!
Have you ever heard what it sounds like from a white guy from the hood? Yeah, like growing up, it was really... That's how you would talk. It's scientifically sound. That's how you would talk. Man,
Oh, hello.
because how dangerous could it have been if they let you have that voice? I mean, if you were hanging around with danger and you were allowed to have that voice in this look, well, then that should have been well documented as something crazy that happened in the hood. I mean, that should be a big movie. So you didn't grow up in the hood. They wouldn't allow you to be anywhere near their hood. You drove by, you locked the door, then you told people you were there.
I don't know what it is with comedians and their impulse to just pathologically lie. It's not like a life traveling around, performing in front of thousands of people is insufficiently interesting. I just feel like they're all really insecure and looking for ways to differentiate themselves. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. There's more content coming up very soon.